We had some massive pitching performances this weekend. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5. As always, make sure to follow and stream us on Spotify. Today is Monday, August 22nd. I am Frank Sandoval, joined by Scott White, and perhaps no bigger performance this weekend came from Patrick Sandoval, the first complete game of his career, and he makes it a shutout at the Tigers. He only allowed 4 hits, 0 walks, 9 strikeouts, and he had 26 swinging strikes in this start. But, of course, it was against the Tigers. Scott, how does Patrick Sandoval stack up against other pitchers who are performing well right now? Jesus Luzardo, Johnny Cueto, Marcus Stroman. What do you think?
Well, those 3 you mentioned, I think I like all of them more than Sandoval still. It's, if we were doing it for next year, I see the upside in Sandoval, and I'd probably put him higher on that list. But it's late August, and he finally has the sort of start we were hoping to see from him. So I just think it's too little too late, especially when you factor in that it came against the Tigers. I mean, they've been the worst offense in baseball all year, but especially recently, we've seen a lot of uncharacteristic swinging strike performances against them. Michael Kopech had a huge one and then went back to doing what he had done previously in his next turn. Aaron Savale, even more surprisingly, had a great swinging strike effort against the Tigers recently. Sandoval has good stuff. Slider and the changeup especially, they're both good swing and miss pitches, but usually control lets them down, and I think against weaker offenses, I would expect more of the same. My favorite of that group of pitchers that you mentioned is Jesus Luzardo, who his start this weekend was against the Dodgers, opposite end of the spectrum from the Tigers there, and he allowed 1 earned run in 6 1/3 innings with 7 strikeouts, at 17 swinging strikes on 100 pitches. 13 of those 17 whiffs were on the changeup, which he threw 39% of the time. And this is the 3rd start in a row that Jesus Luzardo has thrown 30% or more changeups. It's a notable development because his season average is closer to 20%, and that's his best pitch. It's got a better than a 50% whiff rate on the year. So Luzardo is doing what we hoped he'd do coming into the year, and that's throwing his best pitches more.
Yeah, not just a 50% whiff rate with the changeup. His batting average against is 100 on that pitch this year. So it is truly a tremendous pitch for Jesus Luzardo. I have another group of pitchers here, Scotty. They are all lefties. I didn't plan that, but it works out. Justin Steele now has 9+ strikeouts in 3 of his last 4 outings, and he's only 51% rostered. David Peterson made his return to the Mets rotation. He wasn't great at the Phillies here on Saturday, and he was actually optioned back to AAA, but the hope is that he will return. He's 35% rostered, and Eduardo Rodriguez made his return to the Tigers on Sunday. He went 5 shutout with 5 strikeouts, and he is only 40% rostered. How do you rank those 3? Steele, Peterson, and Erod?
That's a close call between the first 2. I want to say David Peterson, just because he's on clearly the best team of the 3, and wins are such a valuable stat in fantasy no matter what format you play in, unless it's a format that doesn't count wins, obviously. And David Peterson was going great before Jacob deGrom bumped him out of the rotation. He had seemed to figure out, kind of like I was saying for Luzardo, throw your best pitch more. In Peterson's case, it's the slider, and he had been throwing it about 40% of the time in the last few starts before getting bumped for deGrom. He threw it only 26% of the time in this return to the rotation against the Phillies, and the results weren't great. So hopefully that doesn't become a trend. Hopefully he gets back to throwing the slider more. And in that hope, I'm going to rank him number 1 here. Number 2 would be Justin Steele, who this 9 strikeout performance over the weekend, that gives him 9+ strikeouts in 3 of 4 starts. Very impressive stat there for Mr. Steele. And in his last 9 starts, 1.47 ERA, 120 whip, which is a little high considering, but then also 10.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. So those 2 are really close at the top. I think I definitely prefer both Steele and Peterson to Eduardo Rodriguez, who of course was the favorite of the 3 coming in, but just after after looking good on the rehab assignment, we see the velocities down in his first start back. He still issues 3 walks in 5 innings, only 4 swinging strikes against a bad Angels lineup. And he pitches for the Tigers, so it's going to be really hard for him to get wins anyway.
Scott, let's get to a few outfielders here. Don't have much time left, but they're both red hot. Jake Fraley and Lars Nootbaar. Let's say 20 seconds or less. Who do you like more?
I like Nootbaar more. Yes, they are both hot, and I like them both. They have good on-base skills, and we're seeing Fraley start to hit for power more like we hoped he would, making that transition from Seattle to Cincinnati coming into the year. But Nootbaar's hitting for power too, and has been doing it for over a month now. So he's my preferred of the two. But give them both a shot in 5 outfielder leagues.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, your smart speakers, or anywhere else podcasts are found. And thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. We'll be back again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.